What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Third and Longhorn with a big show this week with the College Football Semifinal between number 3 Texas and number 6 Ohio State. Guys, I'm going to go through this long list of things, and then I'm going to turn it over to y'all because nobody wants to hear me talk. But Texas heads to Arlington and to Texas Stadium to square off with number 6 Ohio State. Texas comes in off of a 39-31 double overtime nail-biting win over Arizona State in the quarterfinal of the College Football Playoff. Ohio State comes in on a tear after demolishing Tennessee 42-17 and Oregon 41-21. Ohio State's overall record 12-2 with wins over Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, Michigan State, Iowa, Nebraska, Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, Tennessee, and Oregon, and losses to Oregon and Michigan. Texas and Ohio State have played 3 times, with Texas holding a 2-1 edge in the series, and the last meeting between the two teams was in 2008 when Texas defeated Ohio State 24-21. A lot of people remember that last play with Colt McCoy and Quan Cosby. Colt McCoy passed for over 400 yards, and he was the Heisman runner-up that year. Ohio State's favored in this one by 5.5 with the over-under of 53.5. And Todd McShay in his analysis said that there are 27 players with draftable grades in this game.
This is as close to the NFL game as you're going to get.
Yeah, that's so much talent on the field. All right, so I would like to start off, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys after this. So we can keep this show super short. Obviously, we all have read what's out there. Texas has no chance, so, we can pretty much wrap. I'm just going to start you guys off with what's being said out there to get everyone ready for the show in a little prime.
Bulletin board.
So, obviously, the entire media has been focused on Michael Taft's hit and whether or not that was targeting or if it wasn't. That's all anyone seems to focus on, as well as we got destroyed by Arizona State but won. So, it doesn't totally add up. So, here we go. Let's get into it. All talent, no discipline. Colin Cowherd. Colin's got a hit list here. All gas, no brakes. They need to stop the car, pull over, go to a rest area, wash off, and figure out what they are, because that's not beating Ohio State. Colin Cowherd. I feel like they should be 6-time national champs, not that one Vince Young team and a disappointment. Colin Cowherd. Let's keep going. They should change their helmet to a big question mark because I don't know what I'm getting. Colin Cowherd. I think they're going to get rolled by Ohio State, who's playing with a level of defensive violence and offensive perfection that looks like a Sunday team. Colin Cowherd, again, man, he's on a tear here. They didn't show up twice against Georgia, so at least we can establish that he didn't watch the second game. That's interesting. And then from Stephen A. Smith, as much as Scatterboo, as formidable as he was, he's one dude, and he gave you nightmares. What is Ohio State going to do? Ibuka, Smith, Henderson, and these boys. They got weapons all over the place for Ohio State. What you going to do with 3 or 4? Because Will Howard, he's no slouch right now. I'm just saying Texas has looked sloppy. I think they played below expectations, and I'm not going to lie to you. I pray that I'm wrong. I'm scared they're going to get blown out. I'm scared that Ohio State is going to blow them out. From Skip Bayless, Ohio State will beat Texas pretty easily. From Dave Portnoy, the SEC is officially a dead conference. And then my favorite of all the quotes, we'll get one to balance it out a little, from Tavondre Sweat, Ohio State ain't gonna do shit. But all that being said, I find this hilarious. This is a Ohio State team that, as of 3 weeks ago, was being eviscerated for being the biggest disappointment. Their coach was going to get fired, all of these things. A Texas team that was being glorified as, an amazing team. And it's amazing, the recency bias, obviously. You're only as good as your last game in everyone's minds. But all of that being said, what does Texas need to do to win this game? That's a solid way to start.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. No, first of all, step back. Before there was ever Colt to Quan with a diving game-winning touchdown, there was James Kirkendall on 4th and 3.
Yeah.
So shout out Jay Kirk.
Yeah.
He made a hell of a
That's
catch.
true. That's true.
Right when you started talking about it, that's what came to my mind.
That was a great game.
And it was Roderick McElroy meeting Benny Wells in the hole, in the A gap, and with a big stop, right? Muck would lay that hat. So shout out to those guys. Secondly, Ohio State is playing the best football right now.
I agree.
Recency bias is real, and they're gonna overhype this thing to the point of what Colin Cowherd and gang have said is like Texas has not played consistent football. That's a fact,
and they're not wrong.
And they're not wrong about that. Texas has in the inconsistent football that we've played, we've been consistently not showing up in the third quarter for the better part of a month plus. True.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
If you do that against a team that's playing at their peak level of football with talent that's equal to yours, there is a chance that this game gets ugly.
Yeah.
These are all facts.
Yep.
I still think the Longhorns show up ready to play. On the big stages, and so far this year, if I'm looking at the big stage of before we knew what Michigan became, we knew them as this year's returning national champion.
Mm-hmm.
We showed up to the big house, played them on the big stage, showed up to play.
Yeah.
The next time we were tested, we didn't know what we were going to get with OU, but then we showed up in a big rivalry game, ready to play. The next time we were tested, we didn't show up ready to play. Georgia the first time.
Yep.
The next time I would say there was a big stage was probably on the road against Arkansas, and then on the road against A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Showed up both times.
Showed up, yep.
SEC championship.
Showed up.
We showed up. Didn't finish, yep.
Was inconsistent.
Right.
But then you showed up in the second round of the playoffs, right? As you let this team get back into it, the momentum had flipped. Defense had played 100. Some defensive players played 100 snaps in that game.
Right.
100 snaps.
That's 2 games.
In that game.
Yeah. And just for reference, DJ, what's a normal defensive?
About 55, 60.
So a game and a half,
Yeah.
Seriously.
just about.
Yeah.
Right? And you showed up and did enough to move on, survive and advance, right? So I don't think the question is is Texas going to show up. I don't think that's the question.
Mm-hmm.
It's, can we not go to sleep in those lull moments?
Yeah.
Will we be locked in for 60 minutes playing our best brand of football, right? That's the question. So, yeah, they over-exaggerated a lot of this here. And
Yeah. That's TV.
Yeah,
That's
and
TV.
what Ohio State has done in the last 2 weeks has been, like, really impressive.
Agreed.
I personally never thought Tennessee was, like, Tennessee
We've
this
talked about
year.
that.
Like, we've
Yeah.
talked about that. So I was less impressed with that one as I was the game against Oregon. I would have loved to see Oregon at full strength. But I'll tell you this, Ohio State walked in that game with a game plan. They executed that game plan. They played 4 quarters of football. They dominated from the first snap to the last snap.
Whooped them.
And they walked out of there as Rose Bowl champs.
Yeah.
They deserve all the praise they're getting,
I agree.
right? But we ain't no slouch.
Right.
But I like that everyone considers us one.
We're not no slouch.
Right.
Like we're gonna now. What will have to happen is a balanced attack on offense, and I believe that that's probably one of the biggest keys to victory.
Absolutely.
Is a balanced attack on offense. I don't know if we drop back and pass the ball 40, 50 times in a game that wins the football game, right? I do believe that there's going to be a key to this of not playing 95 snaps on defense,
Right.
somewhere closer to that 60 number, and then, playing clean football, sound football that actually wins this game. But just addressing the noise, that's all it is.
Yeah.
All
That's
it is noise.
Yeah.
Like Coach Brown used to always say something, and he told it to me specifically. I'm sure he told it to you guys too, and it made sense when he said it. He was like, "It's their job to talk on TV. It's our job to play football.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing their job."
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, that's entertaining, because especially when you was reading Stephen A. Smith's, I was hearing it in his voice.
Yep.
I'm sure he said this with like a lot of enthusiasm when he was like, as much as Scatterpoo, I bet it was like really enthused, like very entertaining. And that's what he was doing.
Well, they're not
right?
only doing their job, they're doing a lot of Sark's job for him too. Like the bulletin board. That's also, I just wanted to have it all in one place.
Yeah. So here's my thing about the bulletin board stuff. Yeah, all this stuff is being said, and I think it more affects the fans, us that are covering them, us that are rooting for Texas. The players could care less what these guys say. The coach, Sark, he probably could care less what they say, because ultimately they're not in the locker room. They're not on the field. They're not the ones actually creating and making plays happen. And so at the end of the day, all that outside noise, like Jay Hill said, Coach Brown used to say, it is just that outside noise because it's not inside of our building. And so these guys have to double down on what they have accomplished up to this date and say, it's still not enough. We got work to finish and complete. And in order to complete and finish it, you got to run the ball effectively against Ohio State, who's one of the top rushing defenses. You got to throw the ball and protect it effectively against a team that's extremely efficient. You got to be able to stop the run. That's pretty much the recipe with every team that you play. But Ohio State does it much better at a really good clip over these past couple of weeks to be able to say, hey, this is how our offense gets going, because Will Howard thrives off of the play action.
Yeah.
And if you can't run the ball effectively, then the play action doesn't work effectively. They do got some monsters out there on the outside. A lot of that comes from the way the defense has to play if Ohio State can run the ball effectively. And if you can't, then you got to load up the box. You get one-on-one opportunities, you take advantage of. It's the same way Sark does it, right?
Yep.
If they got to come in, you get one-on-one. Matthew Golden, good luck.
Yep.
Isaiah Baum, whenever he's healthy, good luck. Ryan Wingo, good luck, right? Same type of mindset that Chip Kelly wants to implement for their team. They got two guys, two dogs, though. TreVeyon Henderson and Quinn Jenkins are absolutely amazing.
Yep.
They are beasts. But
Both
at the same
NFL guys.
time, yeah, both NFL guys. At the same time, this defense is absolutely amazing whenever they ain't got to play 95 snaps.
Yeah.
Whenever the offense can be complementary with them and they can really showcase what it's like playing a more regular style game than what we saw in the third quarter, fourth quarter, and then overtime. And they was able to step up, still make a play after being out there that entire time. So that's still what the heart and soul of this defense is and of this team, is being able to play that complementary style, because you're going to have to lean on that in order to have a chance against an Ohio State team that seems to be clicking on all cylinders currently.
Jay Hills, you hit it right on the head when you talk about even though you have all the bulletin board talk, Texas will be ready. They will be ready. This kind of easy game to get up for, especially with all the chatter. And
you in Texas.
Yeah, and you in Texas too. So this is a game that I like. This kind of gets the blood going. Regardless of what you think the outcome is going to be, this Texas team will be ready. And you're all right. We will have to have a complementary game plan. And we have to be at our best and playing at our best. Does our best mean we're going to be perfect? No. They're going to make some plays. But if that scares you, or if that puts doubt in your mind as a fan saying, we got to be at our best. That's what it is. If you're a football player and we're about to play this game, I'm going to ask you, hey, Jay Hills, can you be at your best? You're going to be like, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to give you my best.
That's happening. Right. Now, if we're at our best and we're playing complementary football, we're really good. Like, we're really good and we're really consistent. And we don't know how the game is going to turn out if that happens. If we don't, if we shoot ourselves in the foot, if we making dumb decisions, or if we turning the ball over, not running the ball, it's not going to be good.
No.
That's not going to be good for us. So I believe in us. I believe we're going to be at our best, and we just gotta. It's going to come down to 2 or 3 plays at the end of the day that I think that'll make the difference. But I'm excited about this game. These young players. This is going to be so. There's going to be a lot of strategic planning going into this. This is going to be a chess match. This is not a checker type of deal. Yep. But at the end of the day, after you call the play and you say, hey, we need to execute it, this and this, it's going to come down to blocking and tackling.
Yep. Yeah.
Blocking and tackling. Whoever does it the best wins. And when we do that at a high level, we're pretty freaking good. Ohio State lately has been doing that at a high level, especially his last 2 games. They're pretty good. So, I mean, rubber's going to meet the road
I'll say
soon.
right now, you got a lot of very, very, very talented players. How many? You said there were
27 total.
27 total.
That's a lot.
This
between both teams.
Draft. This is a NFL game.
Scout's going to be
That's saying that you are going to more than likely see at least that many players playing on Sunday. Right? This is an NFL game. Mm-hmm. So if I'm treating it like an NFL game, I want to look at line of scrimmage and quarterback play. Mm-hmm. When I'm talking about the NFL, typically those are 2 things I'm going to start with: line of scrimmage and quarterback play.
That's where the investment is.
That's where the investment is, right? Who getting paid on that line? Right. Backside tackle. Who gonna get paid all the money? QB1.
Quarterback.
So when I'm looking at this game and I'm treating it like an NFL game, I started asking myself when I was looking at this thing, when I study in Ohio State, what can we do to get the edge? And I'll be honest, after watching, I watched Ohio State. Y'all know I watched Ohio State.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I like us on the line of scrimmage on defense.
Yeah.
I like us.
100%.
I really like us. And if we can disrupt Will Howard and have him look more like Nebraska Will Howard, Michigan Will Howard, right? I'll take that.
Yeah.
Then he's just been so clean the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's not been sacked in the college football
Extremely
playoffs.
efficient.
Like, bro, he's been
Zero.
It ain't touched
clean.
unless he ran the ball.
So when I looked at it, I'm like, man, that's one of the keys right there.
You know what we did to him when he was at Kansas State?
Pressure.
We got the pressure on.
You got to
But when you look at Jeremiah Smith is Jeremiah Smith. Booker's a Booker.
Right.
Them two dogs in the back, Henderson and Junkins. I don't know if y'all watch Junkins at Ole Miss. Junkins been Junkins.
Yeah.
you
Ain't
know,
nothing new.
Like these dogs been dogs.
Yeah.
Right? We got dogs on the outside as well. I like our front seven against the run as well.
Yeah.
So even if I'm calling that net neutral, I'm saying where's my edge? I got to disrupt QB1.
Yep.
If we can disrupt QB1 and slow down that offense, which I believe we'll be able to do in a way that neither of these other teams have been able to do, it can be very interesting.
All right, well, hold those thoughts.
Okay.
We got to get to our first commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to get to the Texas offense against Ohio State's vaunted #1 defense. Welcome back to Third and Longhorn, where we are previewing the college football semifinal game between Texas and Ohio State. And let's get to the Texas offense against the Ohio State defense. This is an Ohio State defense allowing 245 yards per game, which is #1 in the nation. 12.1 points per game allowed, #1. 152.4 passing yards per game, #1. You've seen a theme here. 92.6 rushing yards per game, #4. Very disappointing there.
Yeah. How dare they?
Against the Texas offense, it's averaging 444 yards a game, which is #12. 34.3 points per game, which is #15. 278 passing yards a game, #13. And 165 rushing yards per game, which is #55. Obviously, a key piece of this is the status of Cam Williams and Isaiah Bond. I think we all feel pretty comfortable they're both going to be ready to go for this game.
Yeah.
And I think having Cam out there, I mean, Goosby's done an admirable job, but having Cam out there is a big deal. Having those two NFL tackles out there between him and Banks. But let's get deep into this. Obviously, Texas is going against a familiar foe in Jim Knowles, who is the defensive coordinator for Ohio State.
Yeah.
He's very big on the 3-high safety look, which was the early kryptonite of Sark, which I believe he has since solved. But he was at Oklahoma State back in the day and was their defensive coordinator. So, what does this team need to do offensively to get after this defense? You look at those stats. There's no easy yards.
Yeah. The first thing is taking care of the football. That's always going to be the main priority, right? Texas cannot have the interceptions. Texas cannot have the fumbles because of how potent that Ohio State offense is. Can't give them additional opportunities to be able to possess the ball and then make something happen. And then put your defense in the situation that they were in against Arizona State, where they're now on the field for 90 minutes or whatever the actual number was, right? I know I'm exaggerating, but
It felt like it.
it's not a good feeling whenever the defense has to come right back off of the sideline. I know it was only one interception, but you can't have that type of play unfold in a game of this magnitude whenever every possession is extremely critical. And so I think it starts, #1, with taking care of the football, and that's typically what every offensive coordinator is going to say, right? You got to take care of the football. But then #2, you got to be physical, right? That's something that this Ohio State team has proven they will do. If you allow them to bully you, Ohio State will bully you. But Texas has to come out and say, nah, that's not happening to us. We got to punch you in the mouth. Go back to the Nebraska game. Go back to the Michigan game. And I know Nebraska and Michigan didn't necessarily throw the ball effectively, but they didn't necessarily have to because they were so physical up front and they were able to make their hay in the run game. And there was turnovers that happened within both of those games. I do understand that. But at the same time, you're able to play more of that complementary style football. You're able to set the tone, and then you're able to possess the ball longer, right? Time of possession matters. It's not necessarily keep away, but it is.
Yeah.
Right? That offense is talented. We need to put pressure on them by being able to possess the ball, pick up first downs, and then put points on the board, which is the job of the offense. So taking care of the football, being physical up front, that allows you to, number one, be able to run the ball because you got to run it effectively. And then that opens up the playbook for Steve Sarkisian. So I think those are the main key points that I believe this offense is focused on is taking care of the football, being physical, and then being able to tote the rock so that you can open up the playbook and have it at your disposal whenever you need it, whether it's 3rd and short, whether it's 2nd and 5, whatever the case may be. And you can take your shots whenever they're there.
Well, then, Fozzy, how do we do that? Obviously, like, we had intentions of running against Arizona State.
The run game for me, and I'm not questioning some of the run calls, but some of the calls that were the pin, pull, sweep type of runs were not effective against Arizona State. And I think it was because Arizona State was smaller and they were more athletic.
It was just habit.
They're just fast.
They were able to go fast, and they were shooting gaps. They were able to play over the top with the quicker linebackers. I don't think we were in an advantageous position to have success on those outside C-sweep type of runs.
Right.
Whereas if you put your nose down, let's zone block it, inside zone it, right? Everybody working the same way. They end up in your space. You grab them and you drive them.
Yep.
Sometimes the gap scheme is very critical whenever you're trying to set the tone. Power in particular, where you're getting some double teams across the board. Let's move these small bodies out of here, right? Now, that's for Arizona State. Ohio State don't got no small bodies.
No.
It ain't going to work that same way, but it's still a mentality and a mindset that allows the offensive line to fire off of the ball instead of retreating, coming back, and trying to pull outside to get to some of those faster guys. So I think that gap scheme running downhill, being a little bit more sound. I haven't seen as much duo. We used to run duo a ton.
Yep.
And I haven't seen that like in the postseason at all. So being able to get back to some of those styles of runs where you're running more so at the defense than sideline to sideline laterally will allow us, in my opinion, to be more physical at the point of attack.
On that point, though, we saw it the last time we truly saw this, I believe, against Michigan, against the Big Ten line, right? And do you remember who was such a key in that game?
Jaden Blue.
Yep.
No, keep going. Go down the depth chart further. Jared
Gibson in the short
game. In the short game. You're
But
right.
he also he went off for a couple bigger runs.
Yeah.
And do you think this is a game where we finally get him back in there? Because as far as physical runners go, he's probably the most physical guy we have in that room. Do you see that happen, or do you think he just was too far out of favor with the fumbles and they're not going to trust that? Because I think he makes a big difference, right? And it's nothing against Trey or Jaden. They're just very different types of runners.
I think we still see more Trey.
Yeah.
I think just the more stylistic approach to what we call will be the difference in how the run game will be perceived as effective or not. But I still think Trey is the workhorse, just eclipsed 1,000 yards. Trey still has.
Oh yeah, I'm not down him. I just mean for breaking tendency.
I think you'll see him in spots for sure.
Correct.
But I agree with Fozzy on the reason I want to see Trey. This sounds wild, right? But big on big with a good balance in my back. I got big on big as far as Ohio State defensive line, Texas offensive line. Big on big now allows for a more familiar pitcher.
Yep.
And I think that when we're talking about inside, I think Fozzy hit it spot on. I love to see more gap scheme. But even when we run an inside zone and you got a guy that you trust back there with the ball in his hand to pick his spot, the big on big helps.
Yeah, exactly.
It cleans up the pitcher. You know, what you would expect for
good point.
big on small is the bully nature of the line to now get speed in the backfield to just, before he's touched, he's 4 yards down the field.
Right.
If that doesn't happen, it's hard to beat speed with speed. That's just tough to do. But I think when I look at A&M, when I look at Michigan, when I look at Kentucky, when I look at Georgia at different points in the second time around, right? The successful runs that we've had on big, this is a familiar picture. I see this every single day in practice.
Yeah.
I see this every single day in practice.
We go against it.
So I'm really interested to see how that plays out this upcoming Friday because we know, Sark said it going into the half, we got to get the run game going.
Yeah.
We got to have a more balanced attack. I bet your bottom dollar the run game is going to get going.
Oh, they figuring something out 9 on 7, I'm sure.
I bet it. The run game is going to get going, right? And you have to do so because if you think, the truth is, if you think that you're just about to playing a shotgun all day and 3 deep safety. You got Caleb Downs down there just roaming like a freaking
everywhere.
Yeah, bro.
Patrol.
Like, I mean, yeah, he's a mall cop. He's a mall cop patrol officer. Yes. All right? This guy he back there roaming, okay? and Denzel Burke, I think Denzel's phenomenal. Yeah. I think they got a corner out there, Denzel Burke, that I think is phenomenal. I think he's really good. Great ball skills, veteran player, team leader, captain, and he's played so much big time football. Yep. He's played in the playoffs. He's played so much football, right? So you get a lot of intelligent plays from him as well. He takes away stuff that you don't necessarily see on highlight tapes because we couldn't even go there.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you're going to pick your spots with those guys. I think that our wide receivers are going to win their one-on-ones, and they're going to have to be given the opportunity to win their one-on-ones. But I think that you're going to have to earn your one-on-ones.
No question.
And I think you're going to do that by controlling the tempo of the offense in the game through gap scheme and inside zone run game, right? And I love to see that split zone that we love. I would love to see it come alive. Yeah. But again, I think a little bit of this is going to be like setting the intention early, setting the tone early. And if we do that successfully, then hey, watch out now.
Jay, you're exactly right when you talk about we're going to win our one-on-one. So we're really talented on the outside. It's going to be a challenge and a task for Sark to keep Quinn clean. Like, I'm a defensive guy, so I look at things a little bit different. And if I'm going against Texas, I'm saying, like, how can I get to Quinn? If I can get to Quinn, I can mess it all up, right? You got a lot of talent, but if I can get to Quinn, I can mess it all up. How do we keep him? What's his safety net? How do we keep him clean? We talked about it with the running the ball, maybe some gap schemes, maybe keeping it in between the tackles a little bit more so you can stay big on big and get the double teams and really, get a push in there. 3, 4, 5 yards is a good run. We don't have to go for the touchdown every time. But someone we haven't mentioned is Gunner. I think Gunner's going to help Quinn. I really do. He got to, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard because, I watch a lot of Kansas City Chiefs football, not comparing the two from Kelsey and him, but it's hard to shut down a tight end. Tight end's in a different position. When you got a receiver on the outside, not saying it's easy to shut him down, but you can scheme it up where
you got a lot more opportunities to take them out.
But when you put that tight end at the tight end position, I mean, it's hard to, because you got the run game, you got other stuff coming. He's close to the line of scrimmage and all that stuff. So Gunner's going to be really key, and because he can make tough catches. I mean, he can be a mismatch for those really good linebackers at Ohio State. So it's going to be key for Sark to keep Quinn clean by running the ball, getting the ball to Gunner, and then at times we'll take our one-on-ones on the outside.
And you go back and look at that Penn State film. That was a really close game against Ohio State. Honestly, Ohio State made a beautiful play in the back of the end zone. What would have been a touchdown turned out to be an interception. But you go back and look at best tight end in the country, Warren, and I mean, he had like 4 catches, like 50-so yards, but big time catches. Big
like third down catches. Conversions.
Yeah. He was the safety net that he's been all year.
Yeah.
I think Gunner can provide that same thing for Quinn. Now, one thing that we're going to have to challenge Quinn, and Quinn's just going to have to be able to do, is to know that I can't throw that Russell Wilson kind of, like that, like, hey.
That is a Russell Wilson.
It's definitely a Russell Wilson. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's peak Russell. It's Seattle Seahawks.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Jay Scar.
Yeah.
It's like, why is it so high in the air?
But what you're going to have to do is trust your playmakers in space.
Yeah.
It's 2nd and 4. I want to take that safety over the top, other safety trailing. There go my running back.
Yep.
Make somebody miss.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, as far as staying on track, right? Now, again, the shots that are there, take them.
You have to.
2 has proven it already.
Yeah.
If you see it, challenge them, take them. Don't be scared. Don't be timid, right? No surrender, no retreat, but understand the situation. All right, where are we at? It's 2nd and medium. All right, man, make somebody miss.
Yeah.
It's on you.
Come on.
Right? Like, getting the ball to the playmakers and allowing them to make plays. I would love to see Quinn be a general more than I'm expecting him to just have to go out here and just beat Ohio State on his own, right?
Now, does a general mean a game manager?
No.
Or is it or is that a bad word?
Well, see, remember on
depends,
Cam Newton,
right.
on Cam Newton
That's right, it depends
podcast,
on how you
on
say
Cam
it.
Newton podcast, I felt
You
like
can do it at a high level.
when he was
Yeah.
saying game manager, he was more so meaning it in a different way than what you saying right now. When I say manage the game, I more so mean be in full control of
Gotcha.
everything.
Yeah,
I get that.
Well,
Put us in the best
And
play.
put us
by
in
the
the
way,
best play.
a game manager doesn't make the throws that Quinn made at the end of that game.
Right,
in my
that's what I'm
opinion.
saying. I think the word. I think when you
Got
say
you.
game manager, it kind of puts a image in somebody's head of like
Craig Krenzel.
Don't mess it up.
Yeah.
And that's no.
I got you.
Quinn,
We need to
we
use
need
this
you to
on- we need- yeah.
lead us to victory.
Okay.
But I'm saying, give me what you gave me, right? Hey, I recognize a zero blitz, a cover floor look. We change into this. Boom, boom, boom. Make the change, make the throw.
Yeah.
But I'm also asking, I'm up by 8, a 2nd and 4. I don't got to throw that ball. I can go right here with it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like just the intelligent play. The same reason why Jordan lovers hate LeBron. Because LeBron ain't going to take the shot. He going to make the play.
Right.
I'm asking Quinn to make the play.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever the play is, make that play.
Yeah.
Well, before go
To
ahead.
add on, I was about to say a little bit of the game manager versus like the game breaker. Quinn, whenever he's injured, playing against Kentucky, that's more game managing.
For
yes.
sure.
Yes.
Game breaking, Quinn is healthy. He's able to go out there, do what he needs to do, get a rushing touchdown, and then blow the game wide open
Gotcha.
in both overtimes. That's the game
Yeah.
breaker type of
Great,
mentality that Quinn possesses whenever he's healthy.
Yeah, and normally we talk about guys to watch, and we'll have a few. This tells you how good Ohio State is when I have 7 listed out of the 11 on their defense.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we talked about Caleb Downs. Lathan Ransom is another safety that's really, really good. He's one to
Run
watch.
game.
Their DNs, obviously, Jack Sawyer and JT Tuamalo.
yeah.
Tuamalo is their leading sacker with 10
He's
already
played
this year.
so much good football.
He's a monster.
Him and Sawyer.
And their leading tackler, Cody Simon at linebacker, is nasty. That guy moves.
He
Seven
runs
sacks.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
And then you mentioned Denzel Burke. The funny thing about and then let's not leave out Tyreek Williams, who's probably their top NFL draft prospect at defensive tackle. Funny thing about Denzel Burke is I was hearing some stats on. He and Manny Muhammad have a lot of similarities in their season where he wasn't thrown at all year, and people have been thrown at him recently,
Yep.
and it's been opening some things up. So I think there's going to be something to that, but we'll see. But we got to get to our next commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the Texas defense against the Ohio State offense. Welcome back to Third and Longhorn. We are previewing the College Football Playoff Semifinal between Texas and Ohio State. We're about to get into the Texas defense against the Ohio State offense. Our defense is coming off of another, what I would say, and they would probably consider rougher performances of the year. They allowed 510 yards and 31 points, and they were on the field for 97 snaps against Arizona State. And coming off of the Clemson game where they allowed 412 yards and 24 points to Clemson. Ohio State's offense averages 432 yards a game. That's number 22 in the nation. 263 yards passing. That's number 28. 169 yards rushing. That's number 49. And 36 points per game. That's number 6. Texas's D comes in at allowing 277 yards a game. That's number 3. 166 passing yards. That's number 3. 111 rushing yards. That's number 12. And 14.5 points a game. That's number 3. This is going to be an epic clash, in my opinion. I think this is how this game pretty much decides who the best defense in college football was, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think both teams have been fighting for it all year, and I think this is where you're actually going to find out.
Yeah, we're definitely going to find out really fast. Being a defensive guy, we love these kind of games. When you're playing against a high-powered offense that has a freshman receiver that's
The best player in college
I
football.
know.
Boy was made in a
Like-
lab.
He's
made in a lab.
He's the best player in college football.
man. I mean, Smith did. The guy.
Who you got?
Listen,
I'm trying to think it through.
Listen, they can run the ball, they can pass the ball. The quarterback's playing at a high level. When you start watching film on a team, especially at the end of the year, you don't want to watch every game. So you got a few things. So this is who they are. The last couple games, this is who they are.
Facts.
They're pretty freaking good, right? But then you want to go back and say, what games did they lose? They lost against Michigan, lost against Oregon that first time. Probably should have won.
I thought they should have won that one.
They should have won that
Yeah.
one. But there's some stats that stuck out, right? And you want to really put that up on the bulletin board for the Texas defense so we can know where we need to be good at.
Like the recipe,
Out rushing them, stopping the run, In those 2 games that they lost, regardless of if they should have won the Oregon one or not, they lost the rushing battle
right.
When it comes to the Michigan game and the first Oregon game. The next thing, third down. Bad at third down that day. They were bad at third down on that day. You have to stay in front of the chains. You have to create some negative plays early, maybe blitzing early, maybe making them check out of some stuff and making Will Howard, make a play, instead of him, standing back there having all day or handing the ball off and having a whole arsenal. So third down, they were really bad, and then turnover margin. If you can be even or better than Ohio State, you got a good chance of winning. And those are the 3 things that stuck out to me really big when you're going against this Ohio State offense. Stopping the run, getting Will Howard in some situations where you say, man, you got to do a little bit more. He's a good quarterback. He is. But if you put him in third and long, hopefully we can get to him. He does have a little legs on him, so he can make a play. But we can't make it easy for him. And it. Now, there's going to be some 50-50 balls that we're going to have to catch, but we can't have something happen where somebody blows a coverage. You're like, oh, he's supposed to be in that zone, and they're going over here, and he's wide open. Can't have it.
Pass, right.
Yeah, this is the type of game where when you make a mistake, they're going to capitalize off of it. This is that NFL type of game. You said it's going to be 27 NFL guys in this game. This is that type of game, and we all know this. When we're in NFL, you playing in the game. When you mess up, it's weird. When I played against freaking Brady, whenever I mess up, I'm like, right. Every single time. So this is going to be that type of game. So not saying you're going to be perfect, but you got to do your job at a high level at all times. And this is going to be a big task for our defense. But our defense has a lot of pride.
Yep.
Yeah.
DBs are big time. Linebackers are big time. We got some rushers. Trey Moore is coming along more and more. So getting him that speed on the edge. We know what Colin can do. But Burke and you got Sorrell. We got some guys, man. I like us. I like us when we're playing our best. I like us.
Now, answer this as a defensive guy. And I know it's not necessarily the same of what you may have experienced in college, but the NFL, you've seen it before. You've played this guy 3 different times whenever he was a part of Kansas State, right? Whatever the case may be, however you've been able to make that correlation, how much do you take the previous experiences of playing against him into a game where he's playing with a completely different offense and maybe even a higher sense of confidence?
Not much. This is the ultimate team game. It's who you have around you. He's got a better line. He's got better. He got it all. He got it all. Right. But there's some mental stuff in Will's head. Like, I haven't beat this team.
Oh, he talked about it in the post game.
I haven't beat this team. Not saying we have some kind of fairy over him, but he knows, like, I haven't had success against this team. I haven't beat this team, and hopefully that can stay going.
And I got his stats in those games. He was 0-3 against Texas in 4 years, 51-81, 566 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 35 rushes, 138 yards, and including a 71-yard touchdown run. 2 fumbles, 2 lost, so 5 turnovers in 3 games against Texas.
When I look at and when you look at it, Will Howard can play football.
Yeah,
100%. He I'm sure he's very happy that he made the transfer. Right? Will Howard can play football, but when you're really looking at this thing, I would love to see 2 things from this defense. Just two.
Mm-hmm.
One, make it a mental game for Will. Make him have to figure things out, right? Because when he's clean and understands the picture, he has the ability to put the ball where it needs to be for his guys.
Yeah.
He's proven that he can do that time and time again. So I would love for us to disrupt him and then see what he looks like then, right? Secondly, I want to see if this defense, and I need this defense to play 4 quarters of football without getting bored. I need them just to be locked into assignment, doing what they've been coached to do at a high level with the ability that they have to do it.
Yeah. I don't think they can get bored this game.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what we can't have is you're supposed to be middle of the field safety. You see a halfback get the ball on the toy, you abandon and now, hey, that's not your job. It's kind of what you just said. When you made mistakes, DJ, I know you well enough. I'm assuming, and let me know if I'm wrong. The mistakes you made weren't that you didn't know what to do.
No.
You trying to make a play.
Doing too much. Every time. I'm like, here you go. I was like,
and that's what happens. What happens is some bad habits that you kind of develop, especially while you're having success, a.k.a. Jade try to rob a pick. We playing Kentucky and we leave this guy wide open on a 9 route and that's a 40-yard game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can't have that.
Yeah.
You got to stay where you at because that's not your play today. That's his play. Right? So I want to see our defense just not be bored with consistency. What does that – because that's a mature team. The team game, the ultimate team game is when everybody's doing their job. Everybody – whenever you see something happen on defense that's just a blown coverage, it's either a big communication error or somebody was doing something they weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Let their plays, the ones that they will make, let Ohio State's plays, when we look back on this, let it just be where you say, man, that's just a hell of a play.
They had to earn it.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Actually, Will he had the last 2 games. I mean, they've done really well, but he hadn't been in a game. Like he's been clean and
super clean.
Yeah, and willing and dealing. I like to see Will when it gets crunch time. That it's going to be a close game.
Well, and that's the knock too, right? Is the one weakness that they've been worried about throughout the year is their line, because they lost their center to an Achilles injury for the entire year, and they lost one other guy. I believe the guard. Yeah, it was a guard, and it was McLaughlin and I believe Simmons. For the year. So that's the vulnerable piece. But also to their credit, they've kept Howard clean and they've played really good football. Yeah. But if there was something we could expose, I think that's where you have to do it, and you have to create some chaos up front.
Yeah, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, them boys going to have to be huge. Yeah. You see the interiors where you got to get after them. I go back and look at the Michigan game again. I watched it again last night. What I noticed was Michigan ran quite a bit of cover 2. Like true cover 2 with the corners rolled down, pressing everything, bumping all of the receivers off of their route to create some timing issues. And I know Ohio State still scored a touchdown, but they were able to limit a lot of what Ohio State wanted to do because of the disruption with the receivers. But then also, number 2, you got extra support in the run. And that's how they were eliminating the run game, was being physical and then having that support flash much faster. I'm sure PK and the defensive staff have saw that. I'm curious how much cover 2 Texas may be able to implement into their game plan to see if that's something that Ohio State has solved yet. Right. Or to see if that's something that, from a change-up perspective, it looked like cover 4, it looks like cover 3, which is what Texas runs a ton. Then all of a sudden, late Makuba and Tav, they're playing over the top, and now you're changing the picture for Will Howard, and he's having to do that after the snap. So I'm curious to see if that plays. I'm sure we'll see some of that, but Will Howard is an experienced quarterback. He's seen a lot of football. He knows where to go with the football. But if you can change it at the snap or after the communication has died down with Chip Kelly, if you change it after he's been able to make a protection call, then that's whenever you start to play more aggressively and on the offense as the defense versus Will Howard being able to be more aggressive because he knows exactly where you're going to line up.
And Georgia does that better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Georgia does that better than anybody else. And when you go back and look at their last game, the one they lost, a strip sack fumble right before the half that leads to a touchdown on a 6-yard slant, and then the opening third quarter kickoff return. Yeah, that's the difference in that game. But they go into that game with a quarterback that had never started at this level, a college football game, and they're right there in it with Notre Dame, probably one of the best defenses in college football, simply because they can limit everything you do on offense by changing the picture. So I think that all quarterbacks, Penn State, Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, all quarterbacks have the ability to get the ball where it needs to be when they see a clear picture. Now I want to disrupt that from a timing perspective, through blitz and through zone and through changing looks, as well as what our interior line can do. If you want to disrupt a passing game, get some pressure in the A gap.
Listen,
get some interior pressure.
That's it. Up the
that
middle.
can all of a sudden we were trying to run flood concepts this way, but my quarterback got a scramble that
Yeah.
way.
To the opposite
Big
direction.
You know, you can mess up a lot of things with pressure. So I'm anticipating seeing a lot of different exotic packages and pressures, some of kind of what we seen earlier in the year. I'm also anticipating some zone looks, like Fozzy was talking about, to where our defense could actually have eyes on what's going on and then be aggressive in support, run support. We got to go play football, man. But it's all going to come down to, in my opinion, I think it's going to come down to, did we do our job? Just the day one install question that you got to answer. Did you do your job? Or were you peeking over trying to do it's going to be a game of trust.
Yeah.
It's a game of trust. The only time that Jeremy's trying to do Fozzy's job is when Jeremy doesn't fully trust Fozzy.
Yep.
Accountability. I like that.
So, like,
that's
I think this is going to be a game of trust for that defense.
Well, we got to get over to the predictions, but before we do, just to put a bow on this, Jeremiah Smith, 70 catches for 1,224 yards.
Boys,
and 14 touchdowns. Yeah, and then not only that, if you cover him up, which no one's done, you throw Emeka Ibuka in there, who's another NFL prospect, 70 catches, 896 yards, 10 touchdowns, and then. Don't even mention the backfield, like we already talked about. 925 yards for TreVeyon Henderson and 10 touchdowns. Quinn Jenkins, 924 yards, 10 touchdowns. That's an NFL backfield. And mind you, their number 3 wide receiver, Carnell Tate, 43 catches, 611 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So I mean, they got some guys. They got a pretty solid tight end. They don't use him as much. Alive. So. I'll do the special teams really quickly. Obviously, special teams has become a very big point of emphasis for Texas recently.
Yep.
Jaden Fielding is the kicker for Ohio State. He's 65 out of 65 on extra points, 11 of 15 on field goals at 73%, and he's 98 points this year. Burt's 64 of 64, 16 of 25 on field goals, dropped to 64%, Long of 49 and 112 points. Both the punters, Joe McGuire and Michael Kern, have very similar stats, around 41 yards a punt. And let's not forget that Ohio State puts TreVeyon Henderson back on kickoffs, who's a burner, who can run. So that's going to be something to watch, as well as on punts. They have Caleb Downs and Brandon Innes back there, depending on the game. So with the Ohio State being favored by 5.5, the over/under at 53.5. Let's go to Fozzy first on your prediction. And we've already written these down for the people at home, since we've had so many complaints. Everybody was copying Jay Hill's homework.
So. Y'all legit were copying my homework.
Well, Higgs has the ballots. So, Fozzy, what do you got?
Yeah, y'all ain't going to like me. I think the consistency needs to be there. And I think Ohio State just has it more right now. 31-26 Ohio State.
Ooh. And this is a momentous occasion. For the first time in the history of the show, someone has picked someone besides Texas.
Yeah,
so
I respect it.
I respect it too. He's being fair.
And you're saying specifically not talent, not coaching, not
it's just all about consistency.
Put it all together.
That's the only thing.
So let me ask a question. Are you saying it's more of what we've seen, just that third quarter lull?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not being able to consistently show up when you need to show up, as far as like putting a team away. I think that's where Texas still has room to improve. Not saying that they can't do it. Not saying that they can't win this game either. Yeah. Just from the data points that I'm gathering as of late and over the course of the season, Ohio State has shown recently that they can be more consistent throughout the game, which I think will be the difference maker.
Right. That's fair. All right, DJ.
All right. I am banking on Texas playing their best ball. If Texas does not play their best ball, they're not winning. When they play their best ball on Friday, Texas wins 24-23. It's going to be a lower scoring game.
That's a classic.
Because, man, we're not going to give it up like the last two teams. We're not doing that.
Right.
So
I agree with that.
So yeah.
Hills. I know you wrote a story on your paper, so let's go ahead and get
Higgs, I did write a story.
The full theatrical.
That's just for you, Higgs. Don't read that to nobody. No, as I'm looking at this, man, I think this is one of those games where Fozzy's 100% right.
Yep.
First of all, if we don't play 4 quarters of football instead of 3, we're winning and playing 3 quarters of football.
Right.
Like, that's what's happening. You're not going to do that Friday. under the assumption we play all 4 quarters.
Have to.
I think that this team unifies around the idea that they're not good enough, that they might as well not show up to the game. Ohio State is better than them. Ohio State's going to kick them in the teeth. This is a juggernaut that's coming. And for whatever reason, when Texas is told that, they show up to spoil the party.
They do.
And I'm talking about historically, all the way back to VY's 4th and 5 to Texas at Alabama to, when Texas is told they have no shot,
Yep.
almost in an annoying fashion, you see what you wish you would have always seen. You know what I mean?
So true.
And that said, I think that this one is tight. I think it's tight. I think it's a tight game. And it comes down to the end. And I'm saying, old Bert Auburn.
Redemption?
Bert Auburn Redemption Tour starts this Friday.
Love this.
27-24 Texas. Nice. 27-24 Texas. I think it's a tight one, man. I think it's one of them ones that it's a big play that change it. It's a 4th and 1 stop. It's an interception. It's a crazy a roughing the punter drive extended penalty. It's something that changes this game at the end that allows for Texas to go ahead and put it away.
Yep. And I agree with you. I think the funny thing is if you sit there and step back and analyze it, and we know who Texas is at this point, right? But we've also seen those moments, and we've seen the game like a Michigan game where they can pretty much put it all together. So we know what we're capable of, and I feel like we're constantly every week saying if Texas plays their best ball, if they do this, if they keep it clean, if they don't turn the ball, if they don't do penalties, right? Like that's what everybody's saying about their teams. But I do think there is something that when you see this team cranking on all cylinders, like they're the real deal.
You had a chance to see it against ASU.
Yeah.
From the 5-minute mark to the end of the game.
Yeah.
Including special teams.
The Quinn went 11 for 14, 161, two touchdowns and a 2-point conversion, and every pass was sharp.
Didn't blink.
You know what I mean?
You had a defense, by the way, that for pretty much almost 3 quarters, was solid.
Yeah.
Against a couple spectacular players on Arizona State.
So I think you're spot on with saying that. The question isn't can they play. The question isn't do they have a talent. Do they have a scheme? None of that is the question. The question is can you do it for 4 quarters?
Yeah. Well, and like you said, this is a team who activates when people start doubting them. And I think they are I know Sark's loving hearing all those comments we read at the start.
To get up for.
So I will say we have to cut the penalties down. If we continue to get penalties like we did in these last few games, we're a team that's been penalized 97 times for 775 yards versus Ohio State, who's been penalized 57 times for 520 yards. We've almost doubled them.
Yeah.
That has to stay minimal. We have to keep our turnovers below 2, and then I feel good about Texas in this game. And I have Texas at 31-27.
You think it's a high?
I think both these defenses are good, but I think they're going to get tested. Because I mean both sides of the ball are strong, and it's just going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. I think, but I do think there's going to be some scoring in this game. Yeah. So that's where we're at. We need you guys' feedback though. We want y'all's score predictions in the comments. We also want to hear your thoughts on the game in the other side of the bracket between Penn State and Notre Dame. Give us your predictions for that.
Abdul Carter's not playing. Notre Dame takes it.
But Jeremiah,
You think he not playing?
Jeremiah Love's not
They
healthy.
said Abdul Carter might be out.
Man, that boy playing.
If he played, then I might change my pick. But they say he may be out. They say he may be out.
Well, we will be back with the post-game show on Friday night late, I guess, after the game. So we'll be there to wrap it up. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget, like, subscribe, follow us, share it, do whatever you can. Like, that helps us out a lot. We will talk to you guys after the game. Hook 'em.
Hope I'm wrong.
Me too.